right, everybody. I'm going to not let that countdown timer get all the way going. We're here. It's 7 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we've got some people that are in some different time zones here, but we're glad you're here. And thank you for joining us. I've got Paul Montalongo on the line. He's ready to go. And this is the Thursday evening meeting of the Flipping America RIA for October the 22nd. And we are live. If everything went well, and I'm trying to learn this new technology here. If everything went well, we are live on Facebook and YouTube right now, and also in the Zoom call. So if you're in the Zoom call, what I would like for you to do is go ahead and say hello to everyone in the chat. And if you have questions for Paul, please be sure to use the Q&A tab. This is your opportunity to ask questions of this gentleman that's with us here tonight, and we're going to make sure that we get answers to your questions. So, Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How about you?
Yeah, great. And it's good to see you. And we're kind of improving things. There we go. I lost my camera for a second. Hopefully it's coming back. I shouldn't have touched it.
I don't see you.
Oh, there we go. There we go. How about now?
There you are.
All right.
You're back.
We're trying to continually improve things the way we do this, and the only way to do that really is just to get out and use it. But let's get going with a few announcements. Let me run through a few things. For those of you that are brand new, this may be your first time to see this, but anyway, let me click on the right button here. Okay, this is tonight. I've got Paul Montalongo here. We're going to be talking about investing for life. I've got some questions for him about what he's doing, but also, Paul, just a heads up, I'm going to ask you about the what's going on in the market. And we're not going to get into politics, but I am going to ask you to predict what's going to happen in the markets depending on who wins in the election. So be thinking about your answers to those questions, okay?
Okay.
This is next Wednesday. Dr. Margaret Curlew is going to join us, and she has just written a book called Mom to Millionaire, how she has made her money in real estate investing. And it's a remarkably inspiring story. Can't wait to share it with you. And that's next Wednesday at noon Eastern. And I went the wrong way. This is next Thursday night. We're getting on toward Halloween time. And next Thursday night, we're going to do tenant nightmares. I've got a few to share. You may have a few to share. We're going to be reaching out to some landlords. And if you're a landlord, please go ahead and send your story to me. Here's what I want you to do. If you can't be on the call next Thursday night, go to my website, rogerblankenship.com, and just hit the button where you can talk to me and tell me your tenant nightmare story. Try to make it, 30, 45 seconds. And then I'll try to grab the audio and figure out a way to use this technology to play it for everybody. It really, the point of the whole thing is to have a little bit of fun while we're also learning lessons about maybe some things that we all could have done a little bit better, and the way we could have improved our management of those properties. Said, hey, Paul, do you have any tenant nightmare stories?
I don't know. I sure do.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, we may get yours from you tonight then. Okay. This is Flipping America, and it is a show first and foremost. If you don't listen to the show, please give it a listen. It's on the air, AM, FM stations, coast to coast, 3 times a week. If you're unable to find it there, which is, I think, pretty likely, you can always listen to the podcast. After the show airs, we turn it into a podcast. And let's see, the show that aired this morning was show number 425. That's 425 hours of free real estate education. We also have an app called Flipping America. You can download the app for free. There's never an in-app charge or purchase or upsell or anything like that. It's always completely free. And using the app, you get access to the show notes. And then it's the RIA, which this is. We formed the RIA this year out of response to the growing networking meetings and a desire to help people network around the country and just stay connected. Then it's the Academy with some courses and that sort of thing. The Buyers Club, I'm going to show you something about the Buyers Club in just a minute. And the store is coming and the network is coming. The network's going to be released in about the second week of January, and it's going to be really cool. And I'll say a lot more about it when we get closer to it. So check your favorite podcast provider. We're on all the platforms, plus some that you haven't heard of. And here are some reasons to join the association, but really all I want to say to you tonight is just show your support. If you feel like you're getting $10 worth of value out of these meetings, well, you can come to 8 of them every month for $10. $10 a month you can join. And, there's some other benefits there, which you can see for yourself. And there is also an opportunity for you to lead a local group. We just founded the new group in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're getting ready to add other groups in Lexington, Indianapolis, and I think we've got some going on in other places that I may not even know, but I think Chip's been telling me we're going to start one in Memphis. So all of that's coming. And in in the chat, I'm looking over here now at the uh, well, a lot of people have come onto the call since I looked away. Uh, Chip, I don't know if you have texted me the number, but you can tell me a few minutes. We're going to give away this course tonight, the Real Estate Investing Quick Start, to anyone who guesses a random number between 1 and 100 that's closest to the number Chip has already selected. And here's what you do to enter this little contest. It's our equivalent of giving door prizes virtually, okay? Can't give you a flat screen TV for being here, but we can give you something worth $300. I sell this course for $300. It's 15 lessons on how to get started in real estate investing. It gives you kind of the warp and woof of real estate investing, shows you a lot of different things that you can do, and sort of helps you decide. But the other thing I want you to start doing is practice making offers. So I try to get you making offers on real estate in the first couple of weeks. And I know you won't feel ready. You're not going to be ready, but that's okay. We build some safeguards into the contract for you, and we explain all of that. This is a $297 course, and it's a great deal at $297. But because of the pandemic, people are nervous about their money. I'm making it a no-brainer for you. Use that coupon code Social Distance Learning, and it's $97. But someone's going to win it tonight for free. Okay. Also, when you put into the chat, make sure that your chat goes to all panelists and attendees. Look at that little drop-down thing before you click enter, because if you send it only to the panelists, Chip won't see your entry. And also be sure and tell us where you're from. We like to hear that. And we're going to start up in January again with our next round of coaching, the 6-month coaching. People are already signing up for this, and it is limited what we'll take into the coaching. You get to hang out with me on Wednesday nights in a private coaching session. Well, it's one on a few. There'll be a few people in the group, and we'll do a Zoom call on Wednesday nights. And we start the whole thing off with a personalized session where I try to help you come up with an individualized strategy that fits your life situation. And then we've got video lessons that you can choose from and some that you need to take to understand what's going on with real estate in the world of real estate. And after that, we're on these calls and we're talking, and I'm holding you accountable, and I'm coaching you through the progress. If you've got a deal, we'll do a deal review. If you've got another need, if you've got an issue or problem, we'll work on it on those calls. And that's January through June of 2021. And I charge basically $1,000 a month. It's $6,000 for 6 months of coaching. And it comes with a guarantee. If you don't double your investment in the profits that you make during that time, we extend your coaching period again so you can stay in the program, okay? No one's thrown out till you're making money. And here's the other thing that I'm doing. I'm with this coupon code Purple Mountains, it's now half off, but that's for a limited time. As of Thanksgiving, the half price discount will end. So if you want to get in January for $3,000 instead of $1,000, you can. If you need financing, drop me an email and I will work with you. Okay. A little talk about the Buyers Club. I mentioned it a minute ago and said I would say more. Now I'm going to say more. We're buying houses like these that you see here on the screen for under $20,000, some of them under $10,000. The second one from the left I bought for $2,000. That doesn't happen very often. But this is an example of one that I just got. It's in North Dakota. Club members can buy this house for $21,500, and the fair market rent in this town is $950 a month for this house. It's a pretty nice house, and you can see the picture of the kitchen there. It's in good shape. It's move-in ready. It does need to be painted on the outside, and it's already too cold in North Dakota to paint the outside. They'll have to wait till springtime. But what we're going to do is we're going to sell this house to someone and sell or finance it to them. And the price will be up there in the $70,000 range for this house. That is actually, if it were all repaired, it'd be worth about $110,000. So they're getting the deal. They do the work themselves, and we're making this kind of money. 33% average annualized return. If you want to know more, you can go to that link that you see on the screen there and watch a short video and join the club, or you can go to this link bit.ly/Buyers Club 920 and watch a longer, it's like a 35 or 40-minute presentation that I did in a webinar back in September. And you should watch the video and understand the risk before you get going. All right, now I got to go all the way over here to the other screen. First of all, let me do this and go over here. And Chip, I have unmuted you. And how you doing, man? All right. Yeah, no, I forgot. Sorry. I'll try to do better next week. I'm getting a little bit better at this, but anyway. All right. Oh, that's right. Hey, Chip, I'm going to promote you to panelist right now. Hold on. Oh, all right. Never mind. All right. So just tell the story. Okay. That's amazing. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. No, well, we can contact all of the Atlanta subgroups. We've got 7 or 8 subgroups of the Flipping America RIA right here in Atlanta, so we'll let them know, and certainly pass the word around. Now, the Flipping America RIA proudly works with local RIAs everywhere we go, and we are happy to be technically a subgroup of the Atlanta RIA. And we love Dustin Griffin and Chrissy and all the people over there, and do everything that we can to support them, and they support us as well. So yeah, and that's what the on-site renovation group is. And if you're thinking about which RIA to join, the answer is both. Join the Flipping America RIA and join the Atlanta RIA because we do different things. All right. So remember, put your questions for Paul in the Q&A. I think that's the announcements. Thanks, Chip. Thanks, Bay Mountain Capital. And I do have this little confession. I'm doing 2 of these meetings every week. I do 3 radio shows every week, and I'm buying 3 or 4 houses and selling some every single week. I've really got all I can handle. I have just hired somebody to come in and help out, but she won't be here to start until after Thanksgiving. So please bear with me. If you have won a door prize, I am going to get to you. And also, if you're waiting for a video replay, I am going to get to that as well. But I'm trying to learn this technology because we want to use this for an exciting new development on the YouTube channel coming in January, which I'll say more about later on. All right, let's switch over here to Paul. Paul, good to see you, man.
How you doing?
All right. So now, not everyone that's on the call now was on the call yesterday when we spoke. So let's back up a little bit and just introduce yourself and just give us a quick version of your life and background and how you wound up where you are today. Ready, set, go.
Paul Montalongo, San Antonio, Texas. So I started investing when I was actually a teenager. Bought my first property at the age of 17, sold it at 19 years old. And then, I just started buying houses, fixing them, flipping them, real estate, wholesale, um, rent, cash flows. I remember we said yesterday that we didn't even know it was called wholesale. That we didn't even know it was called flipping then. We just buy them, fix them up, and resell them. So that's been my career until about 8 years ago. Then I got into multifamily investing. And by the way, all along the way, I've had construction companies, I've had remodeling restoration companies, I had an insurance restoration company. I've done, I've owned marinas, I've owned RV parks. And so, but about, like I said, 7.5, close to 8 years ago, then I started buying multifamily units, multifamily apartment units. And so that's where I am today doing that.
Okay, so tell me, how did you wind up with all the things that you've done and all the things that you've been into? How did you wind up selecting apartments?
How did I select apartments?
Yeah, why'd you pick that one?
Well, I'd always heard about apartments, right? I'd always heard that multifamily was a different real estate strategy, right? And so I had done plenty of single family residences. And the thing with single family is you buy one, you flip it, you buy another one, you flip it. So they're one-offs. Now you can buy a portfolio, you can buy a small portfolio, or even in my case, I was doing multiple flips at a time, but essentially they're still one-offs. Buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And somebody presented to me the idea of buying multifamily apartment complexes. And it made sense to me in the sense that one closing, but 40, 50, 100 sources of revenue, checks coming in on a monthly basis. And so that seemed to be that made sense to me. The thing is that I didn't really understand how to do it. And what I've discovered in the people that I mentor and work with, the people in the business, really, a lot of people come up up the uh, up the road of residential flipping, and they know multifamily is out there, but for an acquisition, you're talking 3, 4, 5 million, $10 million. You've got to go raise $2 million. You got to qualify for a loan in the millions of dollars, and that just seemed overwhelming. It did to me. Like, how do you pull something off? Until I got some education, I got mentored, I got some partners, and I learned how to do it. The way I was able to get into my very first deal was
Hey,
that
Paul,
I brought,
excuse me.
yeah,
One of our listeners says they can't really hear you very well. Can you pull your mic around a little closer?
I can. Is that any better? I could probably speak up too,
Yeah,
right? So
I
is
hear
that
you
any
fine.
better?
I hear you fine.
All
Is
right,
that any
good.
better, Tony?
Um, so okay, we'll assume it is until he tells us otherwise. Um, what was I
Oh,
saying? Oh, so
okay. Chip says you're a lot lower than I am and you're going in and out, but I can turn me down. All right. And then you all can turn up your speakers. Okay, go ahead.
all right. So how I got into my first deal was I brought the business acumen, and I brought the credit, and I brought some money to the deal. And that's what I have discovered in doing multifamilies, is that there are many roles you can fill in order to get into the multifamily game. You can be the credit partner, you can be the underwriting partner, you can be the sponsor, you can be the manager, like the property manager, you can do the rehab. You can be a money raiser in the case of syndication. So there are all these little roles that you can play in exchange for ownership, equity in the property, as well as income derived from the property. And once I learned those little nuances and ins and out, it opens up the world to how many deals you can do.
Okay, now one of the things that I hear a lot, and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear you say it. It takes a lot more money to get into apartments than it does single family, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah. Hold on a
and
second. Hold on a second, Paul. Yeah,
yeah.
Chip. Oh, I don't know what. I don't know what. Paul, do you have an adjustment on your microphone there where you can turn it up? Oh, now you're
Is that
muted
any
complete.
better?
That I don't know. I hear you fine. I don't know. I can't speak for what's happening with the Zoom audience there. Um, and I apologize for that, you guys. So
I mean, I could jump over to Zoom if that helps. I'm on the eCam, whatever you'd
yeah,
like me to do.
I don't think that'd make any difference. I don't think that's the issue. Just swallow that microphone as much as you can,
Let me do this.
and if
Um, okay, that's what I've got. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Yes, it does take more money to get into multifamily. And like single family residential investing, it's a matter of leverage. How can you leverage what you have so that you can do more with less? And in this case, more work, more ownership for less money. It is entirely possible to get into multifamily investing without any money out of your pocket, without any cash withdrawn from your personal bank account or your business bank account. That is entirely possible. And it goes to what I just spoke about a few minutes ago which is your role, like the many roles that are available to you in a multifamily apartment investment opportunity. So for the right role, in the right group, you can do money, or you can do become an investor without money out of your pocket. One of the best ways, I'll just tell you, one of the best ways is very similar to single family residence, and that is to become a bird dog. So you're finding deals for apartment investors, for apartment syndicators. Also, you can bird dog money. So like you're finding investors to come into the syndication of an apartment investor like myself. So in exchange for you bringing a group of investors to the transaction, then you can get a piece of the transaction, and it varies. The percentage varies based on it's usually proportionate to what you bring. Does that answer the question?
yeah, it does. And that's what I was hoping you would say. And I hope you guys heard this. Not only does it not necessarily take more money to get into multifamily, you could do this reasonably with none of your own money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the old adage. It takes more money, but it doesn't have to be your money.
Yeah. But now, and you can find those deals in single family as well. But if you find a deal in a multifamily situation that doesn't take any of your own money, there's a lot more zeros on the check that comes from that. And now,
Sure.
all of you know that I'm a big fan of single family, but I do know this: when you have single family rentals, you're either 100% occupied or 100% vacant.
That's the other good point. That's a really good point. And so I love single family. Don't get me wrong. I love single family. My wife and I just got one. What's today? Thursday. We got one 2 days ago. So, I still do it. Right. So I love single family. I don't see myself ever, abandoning single family. Okay. That said, um, oh, the occupancy, right?
Yeah.
If you have 100 doors, and if you have two apartment complexes, two rental homes,
right? And one of them is not occupied, that's a 50% occupancy or vacancy, whichever you want to look at.
Right.
If you have 100 doors and 10% of your renters leave, you're still 90% occupied. And most multifamily investments work. In other words, you're able to cover the nut, you're able to cover your mortgage and all of your expenses in the low 80%. Okay.
Right.
Hopefully you'd like to see them closer to 75%. If you can cover all of your expenses on a 75% occupancy, then you can see that the upside is the other 25%. Right.
Yes.
So that's the exchange there. Now, picture this. That's one apartment complex, 100 doors. Now you have 3 apartment complexes, 100 doors, and I'm using 100 for simplicity, right? If you have 10% vacancy in each of those, right, you're only still at 30% vacancy, which you should be able to get close to covering your nut. And it doesn't happen like that in the real world. In the real world, you're going to have 5% vacancy over here. You might have 4 over here. You might have 10 over here. So, it balances. It balances out.
I'm not a challenging interviewer, Paul, but I think if you have 10% vacancy in 300 unit apartments, your vacancy is still 10%.
30, what did I say?
You said 30%.
30 doors.
You have 30 doors, yeah, but it's still 10%.
It's still 10%. Yeah.
So just doing a little math here, just showing off for the audience, right? All right. So why
don't have the real point is don't have 10% vacancy. you like to operate it somewhere around 5.
But the real point is if in a single family, if you have 0, and I don't know, you may have been there. I've been there when my house is vacant. Nobody's making that mortgage payment. You can still make all your payments and cover your expenses when you have some vacancies in multifamily. Yeah. This is a reason, everybody listen up. This is a great way to invest in real estate. And, I'm for it and I'm going to do it one of these days. But right now, I know because people ask me this all the time. Why aren't I already in apartments? It's because, not because I'm necessarily trying to get single family right. With everything I have going on, and that's a shiny object that's right out there. Just this side of Airbnb and storage and all the other things that I could be doing, but all of those things take time, which I don't have any more of.
Yeah, it does. It's been my experience that it requires more time, effort, and energy. Okay, that said, right, I think the payoff is better, or the payoff is worth it. But here's the thing, and I had to overcome this myself. Look, I've discovered there's three reasons people don't get into multifamily. I don't have the money, I don't have the experience, and I don't have the deal flow. Okay, any 3 of those, or any combination of those, and that was my experience as well. That said, it makes a lot of sense, especially for somebody like you. And I'm gonna give the commercial here. Okay, that said, it makes sense for somebody who's been to the title company, who's worked with contractors, who's worked with real estate agents, who knows about inspectors and appraisals and every piece of the transaction that you would go through in a single family. You have the very same thing in multifamily. It's just mushroomed a little bit.
Times a few.
Same methodology. Look, you're going to go to the closing. You're going to go to the title company. You're going to the title company.
All right.
You've probably been to a title company where it's taken you 3 hours to close on a little single family residence, right?
Not anymore.
Okay, that happens too in multifamily. So
yeah.
Anyway,
well,
if
I were buying 100 doors, I might go to the closing, but for single family, I'm not going over there.
Yeah,
just send me the stuff.
Well, everything's done virtually now anyway. So
I probably have an overinflated opinion of my importance, but I don't want to spend 3 hours over there, on signing the papers that I've seen 1,000 times when I'm really sitting there listening to the attorney or the settlement agent explain stuff to the other party.
Yeah, and you make my point. You are very familiar with that process.
Yeah.
Like you can do that process in your sleep, when to show up, when not to show up, when to take a call, not to take a call. you're so familiar with that process, and so that process is pretty much the same when we're on the multifamily side.
So why did you pick apartments over, say, office building? Just grabbing something off the top of my head.
It made sense to me that people always need a place to live, and I won't say that apartments are recession proof, but I would say that when there's a downturn in the economy, when there's pressure on the economy, and there's pressure on people to get mortgages or to keep their homes, they still have to have a place to live. And apartments is the place that they go to,
Yeah.
right? And so, just for clarification, I don't do Class A apartments, and I don't do Class D apartments. I do Bs, B minuses, or C pluses. Okay, a C plus that can move maybe into a B range.
Just in
right?
case we have some people here who aren't familiar with these designations, give us a quick primer on what you mean.
Okay, D is the ghetto.
You're right.
All right, D class is the ghetto, and everything that goes along with the ghetto, including the crime and dilapidation of property. A is brand new, lots of amenities, usually multi-story, like 4 stories or better, higher rents, upscale, right? Those are A. Also, A can be determined by location. So a nice apartment in a really high rent district, A. B and C, that's in between, right? So B is typically well, this is not always the case, but what I find a lot, B is you have your semi-professionals, you have teachers, you have people in the healthcare profession, you have family people. C's is typically the what they call the workforce profile. So that's not 100% of the time, but that's about what you can find. Yeah.
You're in San Antonio, and
Yes.
it's not a large city, but I think it's probably in the top 100 MSAs in the U.S., isn't it? I don't even know. I should have checked before we came on. But
San Antonio, are you ready for this drum roll? Is the 7th largest city in the country.
In the country.
In the country.
Yeah.
San Antonio has a metropolitan area of more than 200, a population of more than 2.5 million people. So it surpassed San Diego about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It is the 7th largest city.
Okay.
So Houston and Dallas are larger in Texas, considerably larger, but it's the 7th largest. There's technology coming in, there's military, a high tourism base, lots of growth here.
Where I was going with that is speak to these larger markets versus buying in secondary markets. What's your preference there? Smaller towns.
I have both. Okay, and here's the caveat, right? So in a larger market, especially in a top 10 city, if you find a deal that's viable, you will get financing, hands down. Nobody argues. Everybody goes, that's a major market. The lender says, here's our money. Please take it from us. In a secondary market, okay, the lender does more underwriting. The lender does more evaluation. You have to prove your deal a whole lot more. You have to prove the market conditions and why you think that this is a viable deal in that market. So I won't say it's impossible, because it's not. It's very possible to get financing, but in my experience, it seems to be more a little bit more hesitation on the part of lenders. And then you have what's known as a tertiary market, which is your outlying markets, and that's challenging to get lenders on those properties. Although there are plenty of lenders out there that do it, that prefer the tertiary markets.
Yeah.
It's just you have to do more homework. You have to prove your case more.
Maybe a bank in the town.
That is typically your number one resource for lending in the tertiary market, and even a secondary market. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you settled in on apartments, and I think the logic is sound. When you said it, I like it. People don't necessarily have to keep a place of business when the economy is terrible, but people still do like a place to live. And when things are
Yeah,
spiraling downward, yeah, go ahead.
let me just throw something in here, okay? And by the way, my sound is like blinking in and out, so I'm just going to have faith that I'm
Well,
being heard.
it's louder than it
And
was, so I think
okay,
and I haven't
great.
heard any
All right,
complaints
great.
lately.
Okay, great. So, multifamily apartments, yes, love them, dig them, right? And I'm also in the market for, because I owned one of these before, is RV parks. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what we've seen now in 2020 with this COVID situation, that people, in an effort to get elbow room in their life, they are frequenting RV parks more and more and more. Okay, I think what we're going to see, and this is going to kind of answer a little bit. You talked a little bit what you talked about earlier. We're going to continue to see people moving away from the hub of cities and into the outlying areas,
Yeah.
and into areas even beyond the suburbs. And so these areas beyond the suburbs, they are filled with RV parks, tiny home parks. I'm not a fan of mobile home parks, but I am a fan of RV parks and tiny home parks. So
RV parks people can pick up and go down the road if they want to.
they can, and what's good about an RV park is the zoning for an RV park is the very same thing for zoning of a tiny home park. Okay, and tiny homes is this niche that is just continues to burst, right?
To me, that's one of the silliest things out there. A tiny home is basically an RV that they took the wheels off of. That's all it is. But all right, whatever.
Well, just so that you know, just so that you know, a tiny home is classified a recreational vehicle if it's 400 square feet or less.
All right, so
no, I mean there's a designation for the Recreational Vehicle Association, and they put that stamp on tiny homes.
So does it have a title, or does it come with a deed? I mean, is it part of the real estate, or is it an improvement?
It's treated like a vehicle.
Okay, that's important for everyone to know.
It's insured like a vehicle.
That's one of the shiny objects I've really honestly never had any interest in, because I think it's just a fad. People get all enamored with a tiny home, but after you've lived in one for 6 months, I would like to be able to stand up and stretch out.
Yeah, it's not the lifestyle for me, but it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But anyway, the RV parks, think about an RV park or RV tiny home, whatever it is. It's a pet. It's a pad.
Yeah.
So, there's electricity, water, and sewer. And so your infrastructure costs are not anywhere near like a building, right?
Right.
So it's a pad, and then you have nightly, weekly, monthly rentals.
Yeah.
And the eviction process on an RV is literally overnight.
Right.
In case somebody doesn't want to pay.
I think with all of the teleworking and everything, the biggest need, and this is something, okay, I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret. One of the things I've been looking at, investing in or investigating a little bit, is how to provide high-speed internet for people who are teleworking from mobile homes. Because high-speed internet is a thing. Every RV park really has to have it now.
I'll throw something else at you here.
All right.
And I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen to all of these buildings that are now going to be empty? Shopping malls, retail centers.
Yeah, we've been talking about it on the show for a while.
Offices with multi floors, right? And because the future is, I mean, it's not even the future, it's here. People are working remotely, and people have discovered, oh, this working remotely thing is pretty cool. I can do it. And I believe, based on my experience, that we've learned how to work better remotely. If you work from your home in the past, you could get lazy with it. Well, I think we've worked through that. So that's going to leave a lot of retail square footage available for something. And I'd like to know what that something is so that I could get into it.
Okay. Well, I've been studying REITs for over a year now
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
reading up on it. We're going to do a show on REITs one of these days, but I don't feel like I know enough about them yet. However, the Simon Real Estate Investment Trust, the Simon Group that
Yeah,
controls a
sure.
lot of malls across the country,
Malls,
they're
sure.
doing some interesting things. And they've actually leased out a couple of malls to Amazon. And Amazon is turning the mall, the former mall, into a distribution center. Now, that's kind of cool. I mean, they have to reconfigure the space inside a little bit. And the other thing is, they don't need that massive parking lot out there.
Yeah.
So I don't think they have it all figured out yet. But the Simon Group is trying to be creative because, after all, their
There's
dollars are on
a
the
there's a
line.
Simon Mall project about 5 miles from where I live, and Amazon has taken over the whole thing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Case in point.
It's a major distribution center but you're going to have much smaller properties that are going to be available. A retail center, a strip center that's
Yep.
only 20,000 square feet,
Yeah.
and it had a restaurant in it, it had a bar in it, it had some it had some place, it had a dock in the box in it. I call it a dock in the box. Well, I don't know about you, but I haven't been to a physician, a doctor's office in 9 months. I've had 5 or 6 doctor's appointments, but they were
Yeah.
all telehealth, right?
I
So
haven't
there's
been
something there.
I haven't been to a doctor in 15 years. Um, I'm blessed with good health.
Preventative.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
anyway,
so yeah, there's opportunity there, right?
so, all right. So there are these things out there. Now, we accidentally slid into a strip center one time, just bought it at the foreclosure auction because we bought it for about, and it wasn't just me, it was a couple of partners too, but we bought it for about half of what it would cost to build it. And so we didn't have that much cash in it. We figured, actually, I think it was less than half. We figured we could get the thing refinanced. And I eventually sold out my interest in it because I'm just a little bit leery about.
So did you have an exit strategy planned when you purchased it?
Man, when we're bidding on
Did you
stuff at
have
the
a plan
courthouse
for what you were
steps,
going to do with it when you purchased?
not
Oh,
really.
okay.
When we're bidding,
Okay.
I mean, at the
It
courthouse
was
steps, we bought
it was cheap.
we bought gas stations and car washes and
Got it.
one
Okay.
time we bought a Waffle House, but well, we actually didn't follow through and hand over the money because we were bidding on it and it was the Waffle House address, but uh, I called the title examiner, who is now my wife, and said, "Hey, can you look this up real quick and tell us what it is we're bidding on out here?" And it turns out that there was a sliver of the parking lot outside the Waffle House, and we were about to buy a chunk of useless parking lot, so we didn't. But yeah, we bid on everything. And one day I was standing out there at the courthouse steps, and uh, a wrecker pulled up and dropped off a DeLorean that they had towed from some drug deal or something. And the sheriff was going to auction it off. And one of the guys that was standing there with me, we were getting ready to start bidding on houses. He bought the DeLorean for $4,000. And I asked him next month what he did with it. He said, "Oh, I flipped it. Guy gave me $8,000 for it."
That's
So
cool.
now we don't always have a real good plan. All
That's
right.
cool.
Um, now, this has been a crazy year, 2020. And I did a talk a few weeks ago called "I've Stopped Saying That's Crazy. I've Started Saying That's 2020." Because 2020 is really it's a picture perfect definition of nuts. So we have a wild situation going on in the political scene, and I don't want to get into politics. We avoid politics on this show. I don't mind people knowing that I'm a capitalist and I believe in free enterprise and the rule of law and private property rights, but that's about as far as I'm willing to go on all this. But we basically have two possible outcomes in a couple of weeks in the presidential race. All right. So just if you don't mind, look into your crystal ball a minute, Paul, and what's going to happen with real estate if Biden wins? What's going to happen with real estate if Trump wins? And tell us kind of what you see shaking out in the near term future for real estate.
Well, I saw a pretty cute meme today on Facebook that said, "Today is the 5-year anniversary that marks." No, what is it? Today is the 5-year anniversary of 2020. So it feels like that. I mean, okay. this is my personal opinion, and that is, in where are we now? 10 days, 10 days away from an election,
Yeah, something like that.
something like 10, 11 days, right?
Yeah, we have a
So
debate in a little while.
the 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 3 weeks to 6 weeks following the election will be chaos. Probably 3 months, it'll be total chaos, and I'm afraid that that's going to affect the markets. What I'm afraid is that, and that's why I'm trying to get all my lending done prior to the election, or as close to prior to the election as possible, because I'm afraid that it will make lenders freeze until they'll tap the brakes, they'll freeze until they know how everything falls out, so that they can continue to make loans again. We saw the lenders freeze twice in the last 9 months. Once when COVID started and got rolling, and then once again, like I guess it was it was early July, when there was a resurgence of cases, right? Lenders just tapped the brakes,
Yeah.
and they said, we're going to hold on. So that's what I'm afraid of, is if you're actively involved in a bunch of deals, that could hurt. Now, that said, I do, if President Trump wins again, then I think he's got the track record where he will continue to stimulate the economy. And once we get past the chaos, then we will be able to pretty much continue real estate business as we've seen it over the past 4 years. Mr. Biden, if Mr. Biden wins, I'm not that confident that we will have stability in the real estate markets. I fear that it will cripple consumer confidence, which consumer confidence, the trickle down to it is people don't buy houses and they don't invest their money. So until we have some policies from him, until we have, a firm tax code from him, and not the speculation that happens during the pre-election, but until we know where he actually falls out in the tax code, in the taxes, then we're going to see instability. If if the majority of the House and the Senate goes to the Democrats, then I think we're going to have a lot of topsy-turvy in the markets until that gets sorted out. If the Senate can somehow remain red, and we get Mr. Trump back in, then I think once the chaos simmers down, then we'll have some stability. And I don't mean to say any of that politically. That's just my observation based on what I see these two men come across with actual policies and actual things that they'll do for the American people.
No, and it's okay. I asked. I know I'm riding right up to the edge of the cliff here with these questions, so don't worry about it. It
Well, so
however you feel.
again, yeah, no, I'm just going based on what, like, Mr. Biden has said. He said, he's going to tax the percentage of people that earn over $400,000 a year. Okay,
Yeah.
That the other people, and logistically, I don't know how he's going to do that, but let's just assume that he can get that done. In my view, the people that make $400,000 or more a year are the people that are providing jobs, and the people that are helping pay through their taxes for infrastructure, and the people that are helping stimulate the economy through research and development. That's been my experience in my life. When you're in that income bracket or higher, you're feeding other families. You're helping feed other families. And so, as is the case in the past, anytime there's heavy taxation on the wealthy or people that earn a lot of money, there's no incentive for them to grow. They need to hold on to their money.
I've been giving this a lot of thought, and
I don't know if that was it.
No, that's good. I've been giving it a lot of thought and reading a lot, and I get a thing, or was getting a thing through the Wall Street Journal called the Daily Shot. It's a little newsletter that has like 75 or 80 charts and graphs every single day. They quit the subscription to the journal, and now you got to pay another $149 to get it. I'm still thinking about it, but watching what's going on with interest rates and the money market, and looking at the things that seem to be indicators about where the Fed's going with that. I I studied a chart about a month ago that said the conclusion was it looks like interest rates are going to be at these historic low rates for a long time. And I don't think either candidate, if elected or reelected, is going to change that. I don't think they want to, and I don't think it's going to change. I think we're going to have low interest rates for a long time to come. And
I do too.
I also think that the other thing that's driving the housing market right now is the lack of inventory. And I don't see anything that's going to speed that up on either side necessarily. I do think that some of the initiatives Mr. Biden has put forward to try to bring um, higher density housing into the suburbs, I think that's potentially going to backfire because I believe you're going to get a lot of pushback, the NIMBY pushback, not in my backyard. I believe that's going to happen. But I also don't think that Mr. Trump really it probably isn't, and probably I don't even know if it should be a top of the mind awareness front burner issue to try to bring more housing inventory in the U.S. The tariffs on Canadian pine and aluminum have really skyrocketed construction prices, and I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I'm just stating what is. And so, and the pandemic has slowed down home construction, exacerbating the shortage of homes that we already have. So what I think I see is really in the short term, like in the next 6 to 8 months, maybe even a year out, I don't really see any difference in the housing market, no matter who gets elected. I believe the effects you're describing are probably accurate. I think it'll be maybe a year before we start to see those really start to impact what's going on in the economy. And
Yeah, you almost took my next thought right out of my brain there, and that
uh,
is, I think, in the short term, once we get past the chaos, because I really do believe that there is going to be chaos in the
yeah,
streets, okay, and that's going to affect consumer confidence, and that's going to make people freeze, okay. Then once we get past that, and I'm going to say 3 months. Okay. Once we get past that, then we'll pretty much see status quo until some of these new policies, if that's the case, get implemented, or until the existing president, um, picks up where he left off because there's a vaccine and people have the confidence in the vaccine. Okay.
yeah,
But the key, the thing that I really want to emphasize here is because I've seen this maybe at least four, maybe five times in my life, in my career, when when there is consumer confidence, when consumer confidence is down. So you got to watch the consumer confidence index. Okay, when there's
mhm,
low consumer confidence, okay, that's an opportunity for real estate investors. That is an opportunity because it then no longer becomes a seller's market; it's a buyer's market. Right, even right now, it's a seller's market. Even though with all the mess that we've
yeah,
been in the last 9 months, it's still a seller's market. How do I know? Because I can't get any better deals on my multifamilies than than I did 2 years ago,
yeah,
certainly a year ago, right? But I see conversation, and I see sellers willing to go, give me a minute and let me think about it, instead of going, you're going to pay this money and that's the end of the story. So as investors, watch the consumer confidence levels
right.
and pay attention to how that affects your micro market, and there will be deals there. There will be deals in those markets. I
And
mean,
people,
listen, there'll be people that go, I just, in my case, in multifamily, they're like, I don't want the headache of dealing with a bunch of tenants when I don't know that they're going to be made to pay, right? If the government is going to allow them not to pay, I don't know if I want to deal with that. Therefore, I will sell it, right? So just pay attention to the consumer confidence.
right. Consumer confidence. I mean, there are a lot of factors that we pay attention to here, a lot of stats and charts that we keep up with to make sure. Really, I got caught unawares in 2007 and 8. And
A lot
I
of
have a
people did.
personal
Yeah.
motivation to not have that happen again.
Yeah.
But since I'm tracking it anyway, we share it with our listeners on the show. And we're watching a
Right.
lot of different factors. We're watching interest rates, we're watching foreclosure rates and default rates and the economy as a whole. Consumer confidence is one of them, durable goods manufacturing is another.
So it, you know, in 2007, 2008, there was a bad news mentality, and bad news begets bad news,
Yeah, it does.
and that affected consumer confidence. So, you
Right.
know, I don't think we have bad news right now. Listen, there are people that are out of work, and I understand that part, right? I understand that
Yeah.
part. So, if you have a debate on that, please don't. Okay, I get all of that, right? But in terms of, we still have very low interest rates. Money is still available, and you know, except from the COVID, there's still a lot of job opportunity,
Right.
right?
When the
And
crisis
so,
began, we weren't sure that money would be available. We thought we might be heading into a credit crisis as well, but that was averted by some shrewd policymaking.
so yeah, there will be opportunities. That's the upshot of this whole thing. There will be opportunities.
Yes, and that is really kind of the point that I wanted to get to. And you may think, okay, so homes are hard to buy right now, or apartments are hard to buy right now, and they're tough to find, and it's hard to get good deals. But you've got historically low interest rates, and you've got appreciation that seems to be exceeding the rate of inflation. I took a little bit of a contrarian view when the pandemic hit. Most of the major prognosticators revised their projections for 2020 downward to suggest that we would have a net year-over-year loss in real estate values at the end of 2020. I took a different view, and in April I came out and started saying I think it's going to be 2.8 to 3%. Right now, it's running about 5.8 to 6% year-over-year increase. That's double the rate of inflation, and the real estate market is still cooking hot, even in the middle of a pandemic. That doesn't mean it's rosy news for everybody. With real estate or with economic news, what's bad news to somebody is good news for somebody else. So really, it's just news. And
Well,
there's opportunity no matter where you go, no matter what's happening.
during the pandemic, okay, during the first, let's call it 6 months, right, from March to whenever it is, June, July,
Yeah,
right? All you had to do is go to Home Depot. Go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's. The line was out the door to get in, and the cash register lines were loaded up. People hunkered down, right? And they hunkered down in their homes. And so, in my neighborhood, I live in a somewhat new neighborhood, right? But there's new houses being built all through my neighborhood, and pools being put in all through my neighborhood.
essential
And
industry.
yeah, because people are hunkered down. That's why, right?
Yeah.
So it's in kind of a weird backwards way. It's actually helped, not helped,
Well,
but
I'm just thinking.
it hasn't damaged the real estate industry.
Yeah, you can make the case that whatever it is, whether it's a chlorine pool or a saltwater pool, you can make the case that you're helping sterilize the effects of the coronavirus. So that makes it an essential industry. So, so
Okay.
it's like
And
I'm
all that
washing my
vitamin
hands.
D out there, right?
I
Okay.
don't know.
All right.
Hey, I'm looking over here at you guys. My chat screen is over there, and I don't see any questions for Paul. If you have questions for Paul, please put them in the Q&A tab, and I'll see them. It'll pop up right over there, and I'll make sure that I ask Paul the questions. But right now, I've been doing all the asking. But if you've got something, this is your opportunity to talk to a famous real estate investor. Come on, everybody. Pop in there with your questions. We want to hear. He wants to hear. And
I always like to say this too, to your listeners, right? If they come across a multifamily deal and they don't know what to do with it, reach me. If they come out, if they find an RV park or a tiny home park and they don't know what to do with it, reach me. I will work something out with that seller and with you for the lead that makes it worth it to you. There's just too many creative ways to obtain those kinds of assets to let one go by just because you don't think you know what to do with it, right?
All right. Jennifer wants to know how she can get started in Garland, Texas.
Garland, Texas. Where is Garland? Is Garland by Houston or Dallas?
I think it's up by Dallas, but I'm not
I
100%
think it's
sure.
up by Dallas. Yeah.
We'll
I'm
know in
not
a minute.
familiar. Is it Jennifer? You said Jennifer.
Jennifer, yeah.
Jennifer, I'm not really familiar with Garland, Texas. Okay, but if it's in the Dallas area, anything within
15 miles from
a
Dallas.
where is it?
15 miles from Dallas.
Okay, that answers your question there.
Yeah.
Like anything within a 1 hour drive of the center of Dallas is hot, right? And if you can come up with a deal there. So the question was, how do you get started? Okay, so you want to do multifamily, right? So
15
the
minutes
first
from
thing,
Dallas.
15 minutes.
I misread it. It's 15 minutes, not 15 miles, but okay.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing, become familiar with the cap rate in your market. Like, what's the average cap rate? Okay. Go to some resources like loopnet.com and start looking at the multifamily units that are available, say within a 15-minute radius of where you live. Okay. Do it within an hour radius, Jennifer, because driving an hour in Dallas, Texas is nothing, right? You can listen to a podcast, maybe Roger's podcast. Then, so go on LoopNet, right? And then the other thing is get on some mailing lists for some of the main brokers that sell multifamilies, right? So there's Marcus and Millichap, there's CBRE. There's even Keller Williams, JLL. So get on some of their mailing lists and start learning what is being sold. Okay, and then if I'll tell you what I'll do for you, Jennifer, just for you. Okay, I have 13 videos where I take you from zero to getting your first deal. They're about 20 minutes long each, and if you'll send me a private message through Facebook, then I will send you access to those 13 videos. My compliments, because you asked the question.
Okay. Tell everybody how to reach you. You said it yesterday, but tell us again.
Yeah, anything Paul Montalongo, at Paul Montalongo on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, paulmontalongo.com, anything at Paul Montalongo, and I can be reached. Facebook. I have, of course, on my personal page and on my business page, Paul Montalongo Investor. So any of those places I could be reached.
All right. Okay. Wow. All right, Paul.
Thanks for the question, Jennifer.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to say I would suggest just start finding something that's out there for sale and tell Paul about it. But probably if it's on LoopNet, you already know about it.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. But yeah, tell me about it. I'll walk you through it.
Glenn
I'm
wants
happy
to
to do
know
that.
what are the best ways to finance deals outside of hard money. I'm just starting little to no business credit. I don't know if you need business credit.
You don't need business credit.
Yeah.
Not to buy it.
So
Is he talking about single family or is he talking multifamily?
Yeah. What do you say there, Glenn? Single or multifamily? If it's single family, go to your bank first. I mean, no offense to, he said both. If it's single family, go to your bank first if you're buying a rental property. You have to qualify, be able to make both payments on your income. But if you can, you're going to get the best rates there. But then if it's your first rental property or two, see Chip. Chip's right here in the group right now. They can set you up. They will count the rental income towards your qualification for the loan. And then after you've had 2 years of tax returns with rental income, you can go to your bank and use the rental income on your prospective properties. But now for
His question was also about hard money.
Yeah.
Chip has hard money.
Alternative to hard money. Yeah. Chip's got the hard money here, and Chip's isn't that hard.
Yeah.
But for long-term financing on apartments or commercial or multifamily, what do you say?
Well, there's several ways to do it. So if you've got to do rehab improvements, then you get a bridge loan, right? Which carries you through the rehab. And once you've completed the rehab, then you get it reappraised, and you get a permanent loan. And right now, permanent loans, what's called agency permanent loans, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, they're running in the 3.5 to 3.75 interest
That's
rate.
unbelievable.
It's tremendous. It's tremendous.
It's
Okay,
unbelievable, man.
but the kinds of properties that I buy, they're what's called value add. In other words, they need some work, some rehab to get them up to speed. And so there's an investment of rehab that is usually funded by a bridge lender, which is a temporary loan. And then once that rehab is complete, renters are put in the property. It's stabilized with a continuous stream of rent. Then the property is reappraised and refinanced for a very long-term loan, usually 25 to 30 years.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Albert or Thor. Your signature at the end of every question says Thor, so we're going to go with Thor. Says, why should we go to the bank for a loan and have to qualify when we can go to a private lender? Well, I think that Paul just answered that. You're going to have to qualify either way, but I think the banks are going to give you an interest rate that no private lender really wants to do. I don't think you're going to get that rate.
Yeah, private money is typically because it's typically more expensive. Let's just leave it at that. Typically, it's considerably more expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's one or the other. It's easier to get and costs you more, and money from a bank is
Right.
harder to get and is probably much more better. Boy, that's great grammar, isn't it? It's much better in
Love
the
it.
long run because of the costs, and really because it's your cap rate minus your loan constant that determines whether you're going to make money in the rental game. And if you have a
Yeah,
very low, yeah, go ahead.
let's glue these parts together. Okay, so a few minutes ago, I was talking about all the multiple ways that you can get into multifamily investing. And so now your listeners are asking about hard money, lending, private money, how to find a deal. Okay, so in those multiple ways, right? If you're a person who brings a deal, or if you're a person who has good credit that can be used on a credit application, or if you're a person who's willing to manage the deal as a boots on the ground individual, that is a considerable piece of the partnership when you pair up with somebody who can qualify for a multifamily loan. So, like in flips, when you first started way back when, and they said go find a JV partner, and you brought the sweat, they brought the money, and then you 50-50'd it. That's a typical
I
flip
still do
model,
this
right?
today. I still
You
do it.
bet. Perfect. Works 100%. Why use your money when you can use OPM? So the concept is similar in multifamily. You have assets, uh, you have skills, you have business acumen, whatever it is that you have, good credit, whatever it is that you have. You're a hustler. You can bird dog. You can find deals. Whatever it is that you have, that is of value to someone else. Find them, pair it up, go forward.
Yeah, yeah, good. All right. Thor also wants to know, and this is a little bit off topic, but I thought I'd throw it out there. What's your experience with and or opinion of? He says tax properties. I imagine he's talking about buying tax liens.
Tax liens, I
Yeah.
have very, very little experience. Like maybe one. Not even not maybe one, right? I have very little experience, right? Very little
Well,
experience.
I've
I
got
know
I've
there's a
got
season. I know there's a seasoning period, and I'm not willing to wait. So,
yeah.
um, I just have very
Yeah,
little
there's a
experience.
whole industry around that, and
Yeah,
uh,
a lot of
you
people
know,
do it. A lot of people do it
yeah.
successfully.
And I've got some experience with it. That's another one of those shiny object things out there I could be doing, and I've done it, and yeah, it really works. But if you really want to get into tax liens, Chantel Owens here in Atlanta is the person you should be. Just look up the Queen of Tax Liens, Chantel Owens.
Nice.
She is an
How about
awesome she's an awesome person and a great teacher and has a
how
program
about
behind this.
I like it. I like it. How about probate? You have a probate resource?
Well, I mean, in Georgia, the probate lists have to be, you have to go to the courthouse. They don't put them online. They're not on the statewide deed records or anything like that. So in Georgia, the best resource is with a lady named Bri- Brianna Chip, help me if I missed it, but Brianna, and it's Law Clerk on Demand, lawclerkondemand.com. For
Okay.
$150, they will actually go to the courthouse and get you a fresh list. It could be probate, code violation, whatever it is you want. And if you really want to get into probate in Georgia, that's the way to do it. You buy these probate lists, online. Uh,
You can't trust if they're scrubbed or
no,
not.
no,
Yeah.
they're not accurate and they're not current,
Right.
and I wouldn't trust that process. I mean, there is one source, Tangi
Yeah.
Cousins and foreclosures, foreclosure hotline. No, I'll have to look it up. Um,
That's okay.
they
Yeah.
seem to be pretty good, but still, I think when you're buying a list like that, you're getting data that's aged naturally.
Okay.
Okay, Thor, we've been talking about multifamily the whole time. Are you asking me or Paul? I don't have a whole lot of experience with multifamily, and we're talking to the multifamily guru right here. So, yeah, that's what the
What
whole
is it?
show is about. And if you joined us late, just get the since you're here, you can get the video replay when I send it out. It won't be tomorrow, I can tell you all that. It'll probably be Tuesday at the earliest before I get this video edited and out there. Um, okay, man, we're getting the whole range of questions, Paul. I mean, you've done
It's
a lot of
good.
things, but the next question is, what's your opinion on buying pre-foreclosure?
Yeah, do it if you can. I mean, if you can get a list pendants list and buy them and put your name in the hat to buy them, sure. You
Yeah,
know, you got to do your formula. You got to know your ARV. You got to know your rehab cost. You got to know you know
right.
how many days on market you're going to hold that thing. You know, you do your homework,
You need some
but
title work.
pre foreclosure is a pre foreclosure. You know,
Yeah,
there's as long as it's not upside down, you're
right.
in good shape.
The
Yeah.
process in Texas is exactly the same as in Georgia, and we're the only two states that do it this way.
Oh, okay.
Where you have a default notice that's 30 days in private to cure, and then public advertisement for 30 days, then non-judicial foreclosure. First Tuesday of the month at the courthouse steps, bada bing, bada bang. No right of redemption, cash at the steps, and so you've got 30 days to run that through in these two states. But in other
Right.
states, you have a lot more time. You can buy 30, 60, 90-day lates, and you can get those lists and you can market to them and so forth. But my opinion of this is a deal is a deal is a deal. The pre foreclosure advantage is you may have a little bit higher motivation. If they're the closer they get to sensing you're going to lose the house, the more motivated they get.
Yeah, you're just one step ahead of the game there. That's all that is. Yeah.
I, I guess Thor is asking me what my experience with apartments is. Well, I was part of a team that bought some apartments one day at the courthouse auction, and I sold out my interest in it almost immediately because I didn't want to be managing it with the guy that I split did the deal with. We were not going to be good management partners together. So that's it. I don't.
Yeah.
I had
Listen, get
no
into
inclination.
multifamily only if you're gonna. Yeah, get into multifamily only if you're gonna hire a management company. It's not your
Well,
responsibility to go change the toilets.
yeah, this was like I think it was 32 units. It was not a big
Mhm.
thing, and
That's actually a very sweet number, 32.
yeah, um, and I went over there and looked at it, and we talked about it. But I could see that philosophically, I was going to be at odds with this guy. That we were standing there at the steps, and this is a deal. And rather than us bidding each other up, we decided to put up half the money each and split it. And then when we got over there and really looked at it, I just let him buy me out. That's the sum total of my experience with multifamily. Um, Marie said, I was told by an agent that they are a nightmare to deal with in Georgia. I guess you're talking about pre foreclosures. Not necessarily. Um, anything that you get into in this business has something involved, a process involved, challenges, and sometimes some hidden dangers. Um, so anything can turn into a nightmare if you're not prepared. But also, just just about any of these strategies that we've discussed tonight can be sweet and profitable.
Ask yourself why a real estate agent would say pre foreclosures are not the place to be.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I don't tend to think that way, but you're exactly right. There's a little bit of self interest involved in that. A realtor is not going to get any commission if you buy pre foreclosure. Okay. All right, guys. Good questions. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Our time is up for tonight. And actually, we've gone overtime a little bit, but I appreciate it. Paul, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
I'm going to come back to you for a minute with parting words. But first of all, let me just switch over here to Chip. And Chip, jump in there and tell us who won. Oh, all right.
I can't hear him. What did he say?
Oh, he said the number was 88. You had the closest guess, so you're the winner.
So give it to the next closest person. I just wanted to play.
Oh, all right.
No, give it to the next. Give it to one of your listeners.
I don't think he needs my real estate investing quick start course.
Oh, heck yeah. I can never learn too much, but give it to the next person, right? Give it to the next person because I just wanted to goof off.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll comp one to you, Paul, if you promise to look at a few lessons and tell me what you think. All right.
Absolutely.
Who else, Chip?
Come here.
All right. All right. All right. The closest wins. Mark Greer, congratulations. You have won Real Estate Investing Quick Start. It will be, my wife and I are heading out of town in the morning. We got a business meeting up in the mountains, and it just happens to be a business meeting, really a legit business meeting where the leaves are turning. And so we're going to head out there in the morning, and I won't be back until Monday afternoon. But Tuesday morning, I'll get on this video and I'll follow up with this call and also the call from yesterday. So, and that probably I'll try to put both videos together for the, what I send out to you guys. All right, Paul, final words, encourage us.
Well, there's always opportunity. There's always opportunity. Like real estate's never going away. And like the old saying is, about the land, that they're not making any more of it. So, there's always opportunity. And I would say just look for the opportunity and just keep your head on a swivel. You know what that means? Like you're always aware, you're always looking for the opportunity, and just trust and believe that there is opportunity. Don't pay attention to what the media says. Don't pay attention to the negativity of the world. Yeah, there is always an opportunity for real estate.
All right. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Paul can't see it, but put your sevens in the chat. That way he'll see it when I send it out in a few days, showing your appreciation. And yeah, there's the sevens. Yeah, we appreciate you, man. That's the Zoom way of applauding you, and I'm going to applaud you. Thank you so much for your time. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you over these past few weeks as we've been preparing for this and the last couple of days. Really have enjoyed it. And the chat's just filling up with sevens. So everybody else out there really appreciates it too. Okay, that's it for tonight. See you next Wednesday. We're going to have Margaret Curlew here, Mom to Millionaire, and next Thursday night, Tenant Horror Stories. And we'll be back next week. See ya.